Welcome to our beautiful day on Your Image, your flagship program on public relations. Today, we're going to cherish our cultural values. We're going to cherish our monuments. And I have eminent persons here who are going to do justice to that. You remember First Act 77, where Nigeria was made proud, where we were able to showcase our cultural values, our monuments, artifacts, and the like. And you remember, it was a glorious moment. And it has been echoing. What has happened to our culture? What has happened to the development and control of our artifacts in Nigeria? Today, I have Mr. Tayo Olaniyi. He's a former general manager, corporate communications post, museum ambassador, a philatelist, and of course, a postman. You're welcome, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Well, on my immediate right, there's a man I can say is enigmatic. You know the sculptures, you know what they do, depicting your image, showcasing you for international understanding, to know your nature, to know your capability, to know your potentials. Of course, the man is Dr. Kehinde Badaro, a former head HOD of the Fine Arts and Applied Science, a former dean in the college, and also the treasurer, Sculptors Association of Nigeria, Dr. Kehinde Badaro. You're welcome, sir. Well, you can see that it's a regard in our cultural value, the Adire of Abeokuta. You're welcome once again, sir.
Thank you very much.
And I also have someone who's going to look at our structures. And, you know, on entry at some country points, you see the culture being depicted. And here is one man who will tell us a lot of stories, scenes behind that. And there is architect Olawale Yusuf. He is of the architectural department, Moshood Abiola Polytechnic, Abeokuta. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Olaniyi, you are one man who in so many activities. And today, we want you to reflect from First Act 77 to date. You as a museum ambassador, how have we thrived?
Well, I want to appreciate you for that question. But let me first start from the grand architect of the universe, the master artist, and that is God, who created his creation so that we can know him and reflect him in myriad of ways. And you find that about three principal channels by God are being used: the artists, the writers, the musicians. And on the basis of that, when you look at the conglomerate of the countries that came to Nigeria in 1977, which brought about what we call First Act 77, you will see that it was a showcasing, a very fantastic public relation outreach of the cultural aesthetics that we have in Africa. And since after that time, there have been series of ups and downs that have gone into the appreciation of whatever beauty that was introduced to make us to be very proud of our culture and cultural heritage as at that time. Instances abound today that many people, I'm sorry, in some religious circles say the problems Nigeria is facing today is born out of First Act 77.
How?
Directly or indirectly, the impression is when you have an inclination for culture or for museum or for works of art, in most cases, they feel you are being demonic. When you look at so many of our KBAC's palaces today, you find that the aesthetics that we used to enjoy in those days, because when you go to a palace, you see a lot of artifacts. You see a lot of artistic excellence. But many of these things are being discarded today, and born out of that, you find that very few people go to the museum, which is where we domicile our cultural aesthetics. So I will say, yes, one way or the other, it used to be good, but today, I'm sorry to say, it is really fading out, because very many people don't really appreciate the beauty of God in our midst. And you see, somebody said that God created the creation so that he himself will be known. In Christian song, we say, "Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider the works of other hands." And some people say the noblest employment of the mind of man is in the study of the works of his creator. The environment we are privileged to be, directly or indirectly, the way and manner we interplay with it, we continue to build whatever we regard as our cultural heritage.
Thank you very much, sir. With the background that you have painted, you've given a big task to our sculptor for the man who has been neck deep in the art and science of fine arts and culture, because I know in your department you have a gamut of all these educational areas dealing in museums, culture, fine arts, and all those things. How far have you been able to exemplify that fine arts is good, monuments of national treasure, and the like?
Thank you, the presenter. I want to appreciate you for this invitation.
Thank you so much.
It's a wonderful opportunity for me to talk about my passion.
That's great.
Unfortunately, Nigeria is blessed with a lot of traditional artworks. Benin, Ife, Nok culture, Igbo Uku, Yoruba art is there, Hausa art is there, Igbo art is there, everything is there. But the advent of our colonial masters made matters worse for us.
How?
They came and gave all these our artifacts different names that made our own Nigerians not to even want to touch them again. And while doing that, they still looted artworks from palaces of kings and took them to their place. We are talking globally now about repatriation of works. If those works are actually demonic idols, as they told us, why must they take them to their own country?
I wonder too.
Why must they take them to their own country? If they are that bad and of no value, why must they take them away? Now, let's come to talk about culture. Our culture is nosediving. Cultural appreciation is nosediving. Because when you look at culture, it's simply the ideals, the idea, the custom, the value system of a group of people. How are we transmitting this our value system to the coming generation? I've had calls in the past to talk to some young ladies. You can't believe it. A lady of marriage age was telling me that she does not have a rambuba in Yoruba land.
And that's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. How can you, a Yoruba lady in Yoruba land, tell me that you don't have a rambuba?
But of course, it's not only young ladies now, even women of class, they do not cherish wearing the Iro and the buba again.
Let me share an experience with you today. While I was coming to the studio in this dress, it was like a masquerade was passing in town. Everybody was looking at me. Yeah. But this is the dress that our
depicting our cultural
that our people are very proud of in those days. When you see somebody with abeti aja and all these kembe things, you know that we are pushing our culture forward. Now we talk of sculpture, monuments in the roundabouts. Fine, they beautify our country, they beautify our environment, they beautify our cities. In the other climes, they are special treasure for the community, and government invests.
How do they beautify our environment?
Excuse me, when you just drive into a city and the whole roundabout, the city square, they are all bare. There's nothing to attract somebody to come and see. You are talking about tourism. Okay. You are talking about tourism. How we have not done anything about our tourism potentials at all. We have a lot of them. I was designing an indoor game on tourism in Nigeria, and I discovered that over 300, if not more, tourist facilities are in Nigeria. That because I was trying to a table game that you can play and move from one tourist center to the other. This list are with me. How many of them do our children know? If you ask any child born in Abeokuta, even in Jebode, where's Billy Kisu?
But can you blame the children?
No, we cannot blame them. I'm coming there.
Okay.
I'm coming there. You see, the problem we have is that when we believe we have arrived educationally and civilization is taken up, there are some of our values that we tend to drop. We tend to drop, and that is not good because the children will not know it. When my children were growing up, I made sure that by principle I was playing only Yoruba music in the house.
Okay.
I was playing only Yoruba music in the car. So if they cannot see anybody to teach them, they are learning those things. We went for the 80th birthday anniversary of one old man in Ijebode, and they were playing old Sonny Ade of those days.
Sweet memories.
And one another about octogenarian was sitting down there, and he called my daughter, come. You are too young to know those music. Who taught you? He said, my daddy plays it every day in the car.
Very good.
Supposing I did not do that, they will not know anything about it. I visited my uncle, our family head, 2 weeks ago, and I saw this pendulum clock in his house, dusty. We argued a lot about it. Eventually, he gave it to me.
Wow.
I took it home, I cleaned it, I now hung it somewhere. A treasure.
Wow.
Then I posted it on Facebook that thanks to my uncle, he gave me my grandfather's clock. So I was excited. Do you know, 2 visitors to our house, NYC members said they have never seen such thing in their life. So the priority we give to our things, the value we attach to our things is a lot of problem. The monument is in our roundabouts. We are moving towards 2023.
Okay.
You will see how those things will be defaced with posters. There is no control. There is no maintenance mechanism. People will just go and paste posters anyhow. It's not done anywhere.
Defacing
artifacts. Even defacing our buildings. I was in London when the former PM was campaigning. I did not see a single poster anywhere. It was online campaign. Nobody defaced anything, and they have forum where they discussed. I think we need to move on. If we are aspiring to grow in this country, we must also improve on our value system. Most people will say, that's how we have been doing it.
Thank you so much. Well, we've been told that we need to improve on our value system.
Yes, sir.
And when we look at the role of architects in the nation, it's like some of our cultural issues, artifacts, monuments are no longer depicting what our culture stands for. Could you explain?
Thank you very much, sir. I want to appreciate you for this opportunity to be here today.
It's a pleasure.
Going to the question that you had, one of architecture is based on some movements in the system or our society.
Okay.
And one of the key factors that influences architecture is the economy, the social trend at that point in time, and the available technology that you have. Now, as an architect, you can't design outside the brief that your client has given you. Even when you try as much as possible to orientate your clients on the need for some of these things, they might be averse to those ideas. But that is talking about private clients. But the government has a lot of roles to play, because the government is supposed to shape the direction for the entire system. So when we have public buildings that are not depicting what we stand for, there's something we call sense of place. When you get somewhere, you already have an idea of what that place stands for. The government should have a deliberate developmental plan in terms of how we want to project ourselves. Going into the movie industry, if you watch most movies that are coming out from Hollywood, they're actually giving us a narrative to what the system wants people to believe. If you look at the Chinese movies, if you look at the Indian movies too, they project their system, their culture, everything. But in Nigeria, what we do is that we take the negative aspect of our system and project them out. And this also affects even our building. I want to tell you today that most of, even the selection of building materials that we use for our construction are not even so, they are not in tandem with our cultural and even environmental realities. We are always in this situation of class struggle. So everything Western is more appealing to us than anything cultural. But as architects, if the governments can be deliberate about at least starting from the public buildings, then you will be able to see that, yes, we can depict our culture even with our buildings. I can give a very good example in Abeokuta here. If you drive through Naiwarudin, there's a building that is well cladded. There's no way you will move through Naiwarudin that you won't see that building.
Yeah, very imposing.
Because it's very imposing. So this is something that architecture can do. This is something that art can do. So we can definitely use architecture to project the system, but we need the support of the clients, who can be the governments or the individuals, to get that done.
Yeah, let me quickly ask you. I also noticed the structure and some others in some strategic locations. Look at Reverend Kuti building, the memorial structure at Ishabo in Abeokuta. Why are we not having proper enlightenment, proper engagement with the public? Because I see the structures just situated there, but people are not properly engaged to educate them, to expose them as to the reason why such structures have been put like that. So it is also lack of proper education.
Yes,
either from government or from individuals who are culture ambassadors. I expect the man to organize a kind of engagement with the public and say, okay, these structures were put in place. Even the media too were supposed to also be curious and ask questions and project such a structure. So I believe your body can still do more. You can organize sessions, you can organize public
thank you very much. So I can even tell you that there have been efforts in that direction. There's this building in the Ijebu, I think it belongs to the Odutola family, by the Lagos garage.
Yeah.
I know a group of architects have been assigned to look at how that building can be preserved.
Good.
To protect that that age-long style that people can appreciate. So they are deliberate things. There was an advocacy when the road construction was going on in Abeokuta, and there was this cry that the Centenary Hall was going to be pulled down. There was also move from the architectural field saying that you just have to preserve our monuments, because these are things that will tell the stories of today, yesterday, to those coming behind us.
I want to ask you, you are advanced with Abeokuta.
Yes, sir.
We have seen recent dislocations in such structures that are monumental and are historical. Your organization, what are they doing when they observe that kind of degradation?
I want to appreciate you for that question too. Definitely so many monumental sculptures have been displaced in Abeokuta. There's no doubt about that. The Toku, that big shopping complex, the photograph is still there.
The senator, even the one in front of the senator.
In the front, yes, that building where...
Oba building.
It's a wonderful structure, but it's gone. Unless you tell somebody, nobody will know. At Chapman roundabout, there was a sculpture of Lishabi Agbogbo Galadia. It's gone. At Ibadan roundabout, it's gone. There's another one. When this construction came up, number one, I'm not blaming the government, but they seem not to get the proper consultation before dislocating such thing. There's nothing wrong in relocating those sculptures, but they should not be abandoned somewhere.
Or even replicating it.
Let me tell you, the drone meter in front of Cultural Center is lying there inside the premises, demolished. There are ways you can relocate this thing and erect them properly somewhere. And again, it's borders on government priority. Government, if you believe that, yes, this is my priority, this is what I want to do, I don't care who works is God.
Well, I would now ask Mr. Lani, you are a museum enthusiast and ambassador. Yeah. Do you not do oversight function for such activities?
Thank you very much. And this is why at this stage, I want to use this forum to appreciate the management of the Nigerian Railway Corporation. Because I am currently the Vice President of Legacy 1995 and Historical Environment Heritage Preservation Interest Group. And right now, a lot of researches are going on. Legacy, Nigerian Railway Corporation and Oxford University sponsoring the digitization of archival materials that they have in Legacy, in the railways and the iconic sites. Because when you enter the railway, any railway station, these are people who really have custody of monuments, artifacts, antiquities, and building iconic sites of pride. And this is what we are now trying. There is that collaboration now. Where are these iconic sites? Where are these archival materials? How can they be documented? And how can they be digitized? And that is why, of all public organizations, federal government agencies or bodies, I think the Railway Corporation needs to be commended for ever blazing the trail in this direction.
Thank you. The last part before we
Then let me please, if you don't mind, let me go back to the architect. Yeah, because it's okay. We leverage on that in the future because you people are supposed to be part of public education.
Thank you very much. Well, we're going to stop at this moment, but before we do that, just your last bite for this segment. We'll continue this program next week. Your last bite, what do you advise?
I think my advice is that we should get our priority right. Because the idea of a system or a government starting something, and when a new one comes, they bring another blueprint, is affecting continuity.
Architect.
Yeah, there's a need for us to have a blueprint, to have a direction of where we want to go as a nation in terms of our cultural preservation and even developmental planning, so that we won't be going directionless. An example is something that I can make pride of. That is the drum festival that was in Ogun State before, that was bringing everybody down to Ogun State. Now it is no longer there. These are things that will help us showcase our culture and preserve it.
Thank you very much. Well, a new vision will be envisaged. And come next week, we're going to look into those areas where our museums, cultural heritage, and the like can be sustained. There must be a new wind that must be blowing to make Nigeria culturally endowed and economically viable through tourism. Until next week, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
And viewers, it's been wonderful that we're having you every week. Thank you. Until next week, see you again.